Welcome back to Elevation Perspective. My name is Mark, joined today with Frank Tropiano and Anthony the Heel Romano. Boys, we were talking about the Elimination Chamber, more specifically, John Cena. There's a whole card to talk about, but John Cena turned heel last night at the Elimination Chamber. Something I never thought would happen, something I'm still in complete awe and shock about. I'll send it to Frank first, I suppose. Frank, just initial reaction. How do you feel right now?
I never felt more betrayed by another human being than I felt when John Cena turned heel last night. And that is the truth. I think we grew up in a very specific era of people who never really hated John Cena because we were kids when he broke off into that hustle, loyalty, respect before it got really like we saw him Doctor's Thugonomics, then we saw him hustle, loyalty, and respect. It never got old for us because we were too young to treat him to boo that goody two shoes. And then as it got older, he just became a staple in wrestling and one of our favorites. So for me, it was like, I cannot believe that happened. And like, look, yesterday, like I said, I felt betrayed. Today, I'm giving them a standing ovation because I think it was really, really well done.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I had a different viewing experience than you. I was never a huge John Cena guy. I mean, I will say I got into wrestling in '08, which was actually the first pay-per-view. I didn't buy it because I had never bought the pay-per-views growing up. But the first pay-per-view in my watching time was when he returned at MSG. I know you were there, Frank, at the Royal Rumble. So that was cool. Like, that was like, oh, like John Cena's a big deal. Like I knew who John Cena was, but that was like my introduction to John Cena. But like I was never like a big John Cena fan. But all I have to say right now is welcome to the club, John. You're a heel. You're right where you belong. It took 23 years, but here we go. And I can't wait to see what this turns into. I think all of our jaws hit the floor last night when the final boss gave him the neck slash into the two. We don't know what any of it means yet, but oh man, it was. And I have to also congratulate our podcast host who didn't watch this live and managed to avoid spoilers for 24 hours and actually just finished watching it. I don't know how you did it, but one of the most amazing things that I've seen on WWE television.
It was not easy. As you guys know, I ignored your text messages for 24 hours or so. I was totally off the grid, but celebrating my fiance's birthday. But anyway, back to wrestling here. It was expertly done, like tremendous, with the exception of whoever Travis Scott did. It was so well done. Seeing that whole, I mean, of course, Cody goes out there. He says, "Go f yourself" with no bleep. He just went out there
Yeah.
and said it. Which right then and there, I was like, "Oh my gosh, okay." And then, of course, Cody and John's like hyping him up the whole time, like, "Yeah, man, like fight the power." He then hugs him, and then, as Heel said, he does the throat slash, and then the next 7 minutes, there's John, The Rock, and Travis Scott, like I said, just beating up Cody Rhodes.
The face that Cena is making at The Rock as he's hugging Cody is like stuck in my mind. I can't stop seeing the scowl, that serious face as doing as, and then you realize as you're watching this, oh my god! And the crowd realized in that moment when they cut to his face, you hear everyone starts freaking out, and then the low blow and the whole thing, and he didn't pull any punches. I mean, he hit him with everything that he had available in that ring. Cody's bleeding all over the place. Oh, it was. You're right. It was so well done. It was perfect.
So I just want to say, I think this is a testament to John and what he's done over his entire career. And I never thought this was going to happen. When he was staring daggers into the rock, I was like, oh, I guess there's some unfinished business here. Like I was so dumb, so naive in the moment. They had me till the very, very second that he kicked Cody. Like literally, like, and I saw other people on Twitter, X, saying the same thing. So I guess I was not. I mean, I still think I was in the minority, but there were some other people that thought the same way as me. I just think I never in a million years thought he was going to turn heel. So even when it was the writing was on the wall there, and especially you look back to what he did to Punk, he hasn't shown up for any of this goodwill farewell tour that he's on. Sure, now it all adds up, but I was completely blind to it. I never thought it was happening.
Shock factor aside, I'll throw this next question to the heel first. Is this a correct decision, though? I know, of course, we have to see how this all plays out, but is this just a crazy moment, like a history-breaking moment that won't really pay off, or was this the correct call?
I mean, it's tough to say right now, right? I mean, we're going to see how it goes. But here, I've been thinking about this over the last 24 hours since this happened is that every match that we could think of that we want John Cena to have and what we assume is his last year. I mean, now he's a heel. Now I've even wondered, was this all a sham? Is this really his retirement tour? I mean, I don't know. I think anything's up for grabs right now. But if this is his retirement tour, every match we could think of that he could be involved in is with another babyface, right? CM Punk, Randy Orton, Roman Reigns. You could either turn them, Cody Rhodes, we could either turn them all, or some of them at least, or we'd have all these babyface versus babyface matches. Whereas now you've turned Cena, and that answers everything. You can have all these matches if you want, if that's what the story is going to dictate. And I think a lot of people want to see, especially Cena versus Punk, after what we saw in the chamber last night. The story kind of tells itself. And if John has the title for all of this, if he beats Cody at WrestleMania, and he's a heel champ for the spring and the summer, I think the possibilities are endless. I think it absolutely is the right move. I think people will eat this up. People have been yearning for this for 20 years, just as much as he probably has himself. And I'm sure they'll find a way to wrap it up at the end to make him, go out on top as a baby face. This won't be an extended run, but it'll be fun. I think it's 100% the right move.
How can I say no? After all of the fanfare they got last night, and then like we said, time will tell. But how can I say no? How can I say no that this was the wrong move after everything that happened last night? And we have been sitting here for 24 hours, and I'm still in shock and I'm still in awe, and I don't know when we're going to get any answers on why he might have done this. I mean, we can all make our assumptions on why he might have done it, right? But both him and Cody
won the match, though. I'm sorry for cutting you off. Like, he won the chamber match, which, was a little screwy. Of course, Seth went in there and curb stomped CM Punk. But to me, that was a part that was a little bit messy to me, because if he lost the match and needed some way into the main event of Mania, and then he sided with The Rock to get that spot, sure, but he won the match.
I get what you're saying. I think that at the end of the day, he's still John Cena, so winning that match wasn't that far-fetched. But we're going to hear his motive. Like, we're going to hear why he thought that. And honestly, that's probably something that somebody might say to him. John, you won that match. Why the heck would you do that? But
I don't necessarily think this is true, but I mean, he won via the help of Seth Rollins at the end of the day. I know it's most likely just to set up Seth and Punk in some WrestleMania match, but I mean, Seth did help John Cena win that match. Is Seth connected with this new stable with the final boss? Was that a favor that he did for them? I mean, this could go so many different directions. And not only that, even if it's not the case, Cena did still use that curb stop in order to win. He took advantage of that situation, maybe in a way that the previous version of John Cena might not have done right away. He might have tried to win it, in a just manner.
I think he said sorry when he had the STF.
Yeah, he said sorry. As Seth was standing there saying, "Kill him or die, Punk, die," whatever he was saying.
And Cole on the announce team played it up really well, saying this is a desperate man in John Cena. He has to do whatever it takes to win this match. So that was very well done. I guess I'll just send the next question over to Frank then first. Frank, we'll look at WrestleMania now. It's now John Cena versus Cody Rhodes for the title, presumably in the Night 2 main event. If John were to win, does this tarnish the legacy of breaking the record as heel John Cena?
Not at all. Whose record is he going after? They call him the dirtiest player in the game. No, not at all. John Cena.
But John has built a career of being the good guy.
Absolutely. And if he wins one championship as a heel, it doesn't matter if it's the last one. I don't care. That being said, I would rather him not win the championship as a heel and then use the entire year to start heel and then slowly turn back, build up that goodwill. And even if it's on the last night of his career, to win his 17th championship and do it the right way. That's the way I would prefer them to book it. But if they book him as the champion after WrestleMania, I mean, listen, we keep saying it. Wrestling is as hot as it's been right now. The WWE specifically is as hot as it's ever been. It's about to get hotter. You've got The Rock and John Cena working together. I mean, can you imagine putting more eyes on the product than in Vegas at WrestleMania 41 on April 19th and 20th?
Yeah, as long as they show up, right? I mean, it's the big question as to what are we actually going to see, and how much are we actually going to see of either of these two? And I guess that question remains to be answered. But I think that I said to Frank last night after this happened that I kind of thought that he couldn't win it as a heel. I think I've kind of changed my tune on that today. Like, I think more than anything, this could end up just benefiting Cody more in the long run. Like, the story is probably now, all right, Cena wins it as a heel. He has his summer of terror, going against all of his old friends. And then eventually we build up to Cody probably winning that belt back. You could go a number of different ways. You could have Punk take it off him. You could have Randy take it off him. But if we do build to Cody, getting back at Cena at some point, whether that's SummerSlam or even further down the line, it probably only serves to help Cody in that, he's now taken down the final boss again, and he's taken down two of the most, villainous heels and the most powerful heels that we have seen in WWE in our lives. We weren't around for, the Attitude Era and when Hogan turned and all that stuff. Like, this is unprecedented waters right now. So I think anything can happen and they can make it work.
And how dedicated is John Cena to his character and to this turn? John Cena landed yesterday morning, did Make a Wish, and then came out and did that heel turn. That's crazy. He did Make a Wish that morning. Those poor kids probably scarred in the locker room. That's all I have to say.
I just have so much respect for how detailed this was when you go and look back at all of the things that were teased. Even his entrance last night, he came out stone-faced. And, he eventually let his guard down a little bit, but he was stone-faced. The post-show after the Rumble, everyone said at the time, that was kind of a heel promo. I don't think anybody thought it would turn into him turning heel, but that was not a babyface type promo. He disappears for a month. The poster, for goodness sake, had The Rock, Travis Scott, and John Cena on it, the promotional poster. We now know the symbol that The Rock used at Bad Blood was probably, well, he actually confirmed in the press conference that it was referencing John Cena. So many little details that led up to this. I know they talk about the long game, but this was a real example of that paying off. And shout out to them, and shout out to Triple H too, who talked about not letting this leak and how very few people in the building, similar to when Punk returned, even knew this was going to happen. It was perfect because nobody saw it coming.
No, it was just absolutely tremendous. Like, we have to wait and see how this all unfolds, if it was the correct decision or not. But I think it does really inject some great life into this John Cena farewell tour, where it's John Cena. We were always going to be excited, but at the same time, it's kind of like, it is what it is. He's not even here half the time. He's doing his movies, and now he's a heel. And going back to what we were saying, I feel like logic does dictate he will lose to Cody at Mania and then eventually turn face, win the big one as the big face. But there's no logic right now. John Cena's a heel. We have no idea of anything. So there's so many different paths. It's really exciting. Before we have to continue talking about the rest of this show, do we have any closing notes on John?
Yeah, I actually want to hear who you guys think could get involved in the Cody John version of all of this. Randy Orton's obviously tied up, but I mean, how perfect would it? I mean, Randy's got to have something to do with this eventually, right? Like, Randy is John's greatest rival, right? It might be Punk, it might be Randy, it might be Edge, Cope, whatever you want to call him these days, right? But it's one of those three guys.
Are you saying for the feud or for the Mania match?
I'm saying, well, for this Cody John feud, and then I'd hope the Mania match resembles something like last year.
I think all bets are off, right? Because Kevin Owens is part of this story just as much too. So it's like, if you want to put all of that, if we're going to do the overbooked mess that last year was, I don't think you could do that again. But you might see them play a part. We're seeing so many different storylines overlapping now. Where CM Punk is talking to Cody Rhodes on SmackDown, and all people are overlapping storylines to the point where there's no reason that Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes can't have a segment maybe on a SmackDown or a Raw one week. I don't know if that means that he's got to necessarily get involved at WrestleMania, but I think absolutely that the build, especially when we don't know how often John Cena is actually going to be there, is going to be involving other wrestlers on the roster to help build this storyline.
I think the match itself is Roman Reigns. I think Roman comes out there, hits John with the spear. If it were to be Cody retaining, because you know the Rock's gonna be in the ring beating up John, doing a whole nine, and if they do want to do the whole like 10 guys come out, I don't know if I would love that idea, but if it's just maybe the Rock and John beating up Cody, and then Roman comes out as like the ultimate babyface, and that could be really, really cool.
One more point. I do kind of I like your idea, Mark. I wonder, I don't think they would do this, but I wonder if they just keep Roman off TV through WrestleMania and he just makes a return during that match. You know, he doesn't go into WrestleMania with a scheduled match. You have Punk and Seth go at it, and that's his role. I don't necessarily think you need to do that, but he hasn't been around for a month. We don't know what he's up to or what he would come back to get involved with anyway. So I am very interested to see how it all plays out.
Punk's gonna have to get his pound of flesh eventually, and I've been screaming at the top of the roof. I'm sorry, I've been screaming from the rooftops. Please give us John Cena and CM Punk at Money in the Bank 2025. And I think they've now opened the door for that. Money in the Bank, obviously being not far after WrestleMania. And after Punk, there was a video. Mark, I'm sure you haven't seen it. I don't know. Maybe the heel has seen it. There was a video of Punk as Cena celebrating in the ring, winning the chamber match, and he is fuming. He's pissed at what happened, and he's mad at John. He's not mad at Seth Rollins. I mean, he will be mad at Seth Rollins tomorrow on Raw, but he's mad at John. So I think there's definitely still some fuel to that fire. They're not going to act like that didn't happen.
There's definitely a lot there. Going off that, we'll backtrack, talk about the focal points that happened in this chamber. Like you just said, Seth cost Punk, almost assuring that Seth and Punk are getting a Mania match in some capacity. We're not sure if Roman's involved in that. Probably is. I think we assume he probably is. But how do we feel about Seth costing Punk?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it. You know, I think everyone's assumption was that either Punk or Cena was going to win that match. I think everyone probably thought it was going to be John Cena. I'm fine with it. I think that this match really kind of just turned up once it was down to those three. Specifically, I think Cena and Punk just stole the show. I think everybody had that little piece of nostalgia watching them again in the ring and the chemistry that they have with each other. The hug, I mean, it felt real. It was real. So I think that match was told excellently when it was just those three guys. Up before that, it was a little messy, but I like the ending to this match.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of Punk and Seth now I have Seth Rollins setting up two individual WrestleMania matches that are going to merge. This has been my problem with this whole entire thing. So I see every reason why Punk and Seth need to be in the same match. I see every reason why Roman and Seth need to be in the same match, but I don't feel like the third part of the triangle, which attaches Punk to Roman, is as legitimate as those other two sectors. And so look, there's still 6 weeks to WrestleMania.
Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman.
Let's see how they build it. But I feel like Seth Rollins should need to find a tag team partner. It doesn't feel like a triple threat match. It feels like a 2-on-1 handicap match because he's now screwed both guys, or he's now he didn't screw Roman over. He just attacked him.
I do think this was a better way to go about it than having Roman come into the chamber and take out one of them. I thought this was better and more cleaner. Well done. But yeah, like we said, we have to see there if Roman does get back involved, or maybe it's a singles match, like we said. Maybe I don't think they'll keep Roman off the Mania, like just promotion material, but we'll have to wait and see there. Also, we had Damian Priest roll up Drew McIntyre, probably getting a match with those two guys. I mean, to me, that does nothing. I feel that's a huge waste of Drew McIntyre, especially in a WrestleMania capacity. How did we feel about that?
I mean, we have to wait and see, right? We have 7 weeks until WrestleMania. LA Knight just became the number one contender for the U.S. title. You know, I feel like the U.S. title is probably beneath both of those guys right now, but you could do a triple threat or even a fatal four-way if you really have an inkling to put Shinsuke or maybe Carmelo in there or something like that and get all those guys together. But yeah, I'm willing to wait and see. I mean, obviously Drew probably should be doing something more, but I mean, Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble. It's Jay Gunther, it's Cody, and John. So what else would Drew do? You know?
Yeah, I'm kind of asking the same thing. What else would Drew do? Logan Paul was in that match, and it seemed like he was building up some heat with the two of them. I think I don't know. You could put him in that match. I think he would legitimize it a little bit more, the three of them rather than just the two of them. I don't know if they're actually going to do that, but he was the one that eliminated Priest after Drew obviously cost him the whole thing.
So for me, Logan Paul there, I felt like he did nothing in this match. I felt like he was the one guy where I came away from this being like, he didn't really further any storyline. He didn't really create anything new. He got his heel work in, but he was pinned right after eliminating Priest. I just feel like he didn't really do anything.
That's why I felt like, the first half of this match just didn't really do much for me. I mean, two guys were out before CM Punk even entered the ring. So, the women's match was like complete 180. Everyone had at least one significant moment. There was a lot going on. There was like an intensity to it. I mean, this match just kind of felt like, Drew got his roll up, elimination. I mean, Logan did hit the splash on Priest to eliminate him. So I guess that was like his big spot. But yeah, it just felt like all three of those guys were kind of out unceremoniously, relatively quickly, and then we got to the meat, which was Seth, Punk, and Cena.
Moving on now, away from a very great men's Elimination Chamber match, KO and Sami Zayn, their crazy unsanctioned match was a lot of fun. Kevin Owens won, which I was really happy to see. He does not usually win, and we had the big return of Randy Orton, the Viper. Frank, we'll start off with you here. How'd you feel about this whole entire segment?
Yeah, I mean, the match was awesome. They very rarely disappoint, and they didn't here. I don't really know if there's much to say. We're obviously headed towards Kevin and Randy at WrestleMania. That punt kick coming into play is going to be a lot of fun. I thought they handled that perfectly because obviously, if we're building towards a WrestleMania match, he can't kick him in the head now. But whatever unsanctioned 2 or Extreme Rules or no rule match that they wind up having, Randy's going to be free to kick him in the head at WrestleMania, and I think that's probably what will wind up happening. But we'll see. We got to get there.
I mean, at the time, right? I thought this stole the show. I thought this was going to be like the height of what we were going to witness. I love this. I love the match. I thought, everyone who was complaining, oh, this should be at WrestleMania. Well, why? I mean, this was awesome. We got to see this at Elimination Chamber, and I thought they delivered in their home country. It was great, and they set up what's going to happen at WrestleMania. Now, where Sammy fits into that, we'll have to wait and see. He obviously.
He has to be off TV. He has to be off TV.
Yeah, they pretty much sold that he's dead and he'll never walk the same again. And all the one-liners that Michael Cole was giving, but no, they beat the hell out of each other. And I popped hard when Kevin went to rip the lining off the ground to pile drive him onto the cement. I love how they've sold this package pile driver, and then Randy came out for the save. It was great, and the punt, I feel like, was just the start of what was like a night of nostalgia for a lot of us. It's like, oh, like, yeah, like that's the legend killer. Like, that's old Randy. And then we get Cena and Punk together in the same ring. And then we get the final ball. And it's just, this whole show was just so much fun and invoked so many memories of how you remember some of these guys. And now you're appreciating them even more 10, 15 years later, now that they're still competing here in 2025. It was awesome. I loved every part of this.
There's been some speculation now, maybe a triple threat match between the three guys and Randy, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. Frank, what you were saying earlier about if they did Punk, Seth, Roman, I think
Same thing.
Would be, it's a 2-on-1.
Same thing. Yep.
What's the beef between?
See, I saw someone say Sammy could be the special guest ref, but I don't see that.
Why wouldn't he just fast count for Randy the second he went to the?
So
he's got no beef with Randy Orton.
Well, okay, I was gonna say, well, Randy didn't exactly come out and save Sammy during the match. It's like he kind of waited until he was pretty much dead to come out there.
He didn't let him get the ultimate move. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I could see there being some beef from Sammy though.
They might hold Sammy off TV until Mania, where he comes back and helps Randy beat Kevin. That might be the path.
Because there's not, I mean, what else is there? It's like carrying Cross, right? I mean, there's really nothing else for Sammy to do.
Moving on now to the Women's Elimination Chamber match. Start off with a bang. We had Jade Cargill return right out of the gates here and just absolutely decimated Naomi right in front of Bianca's pod. Bianca's crying, smacking on the thing, let me out of here, let me help her. And it was brutal. It was brutal. She took her out, paying off, of course. It must have been Naomi who took her out. I think we'll talk more about that as we go on, but initial reaction here, Jade Cargill's back.
Awesome. This match from start to finish was absolutely awesome. And let me just say, Liv Morgan, great. MVP. Absolutely great from start to finish. I've been talking about this performance that she needs to cement herself as like this no doubt main eventer. Last night felt like it. She can carry a match with 6 women. Well, I guess technically 5. From start to finish, and she was awesome. And even though she didn't win, she was just great. I'm excited I would really, really like to see Bianca versus Rhea one-on-one. I don't want Io in that match. I know the heel thinks that Io is going to get in that match. I'll let him talk about that more. I want to see them one-on-one. I think that match is way better than Tiffany versus Charlotte. And that's not to knock those two. I just think that these are the two women that are on top of the WWE right now. That match could very well main event Saturday night. I don't know that it will, but I would have no problem if Rhea Bianca main evented Saturday night.
Okay, a couple things. One, the Jade attack was awesome. It was a great tone setter for the night. Um, it was just funny because like she kind of was just escorted into the chamber, like they didn't close the door at all. So that part of it was like, all right, they're just leaving the door wide open for her. But outside of that, you're right. It was a brutal beatdown. It was perfect. Michael Cole was like, "Oh, she must know that it was Naomi," and thank God Pat was like, "Naomi's the only one who would know." Like, obviously, she knows that she's the one who did it. Anyway, that was great. And yeah, as far as Bianca versus Rhea, I mean, listen, we have a match on Monday night. Whenever you're watching this, Rhea's facing Io for the title. They made it a whole show to bring them both out standing next to her on the ramp after the match ended. I just feel like, why would you do that match on Monday night rather than just having that at this show? You could have had that tonight, or on the Elimination Chamber. You didn't need the tag match. You could have done Rhea versus Io on Raw. It has to mean something, right? Something's got to happen, I would think. Or this, maybe it's just Rhea overcomes another challenge, and now Bianca's standing in her way. I don't know.
I agree that it feels like that is the plan, but I agree with Frank that this should be a singles match. This is the two, if not the two of the top 3 or 4 women in the industry right now. And this is such a big match where Io is great. I don't think she'll water it down per se, but this should be a singles match.
Okay, I brought this up earlier. I mean, if they make it a triple threat, it's not solely, but in many ways, it's so that Io probably could eat the pin because Bianca's got this WrestleMania streak that they've already referred to. And obviously Rhea, they're booking as a very strong champion. The only hesitancy I have is that there's not really any build up until this point. They don't have any recent history with each other, Bianca and Rhea. So, I mean, you're rolling into this right now, starting this feud pretty much from nothing. There's nothing to really build off of, at least in recent memory. So I don't know. They could do it, and obviously it would be great. It would be a great match. I don't know. I wouldn't have an issue if it was a triple threat because I like Io, and I think she would also be. She needs something at WrestleMania, in my opinion, and you can hold this off down the line. We don't need Rhea versus Bianca right now. If we get it, it's great, but I don't know. I guess we have to see. We got there's so much time that they can make this whatever they want.
Just going back here to Jade for a moment here. Are we now telling the story that Naomi acted alone? Because to me, I felt like the whole time it was going to be, we all thought it was Bianca versus Jade. That kind of felt like the Mania match during this whole build. And maybe it was the two of them ganged up and took out Jade. But now it kind of feels like with Bianca winning this match that it was just Naomi who did this, which to me is kind of underwhelming because I don't know if we should care about just the feud here if it's Jade versus Naomi.
It makes sense both ways, right? Either they took out Jade, but why would Bianca take out her own partner? That doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. In this way, Naomi takes out Jade, and she's like, "Oh my God, those evil people took out Jade. You need a new tag team partner. I'll be your tag team partner. We'll hold the tag team championships together." That story makes sense to me. I don't why. I mean, I'm sure they'll have a reason if Bianca does wind up being revealed as also the person who took out Jade. I'm just questioning why that would happen.
I think we're also looking at WrestleMania for this story, right? And I think it's going to play a role in the Bianca Rhea match. Whether Io's involved or not. I mean, maybe this is your way of making it a crazy. We joked before that they could do the same thing as last WrestleMania with the men. Maybe this is the overbooked mess. Maybe we have Jade and Naomi getting involved in this, and that storyline ties into it, right? Because Bianca's going to have to deal with this as she's preparing for this feud with Rhea. So I don't know. I don't know where it goes and if we're actually going to need a WrestleMania match between Naomi and Jade. Because you're right, Mark. I mean, I don't know anyone really necessarily is clamoring for that. But maybe it plays more into Bianca's role in all of this as kind of the middle woman, so to speak, and she's got to deal with this while also preparing for mommy.
Just the rest of the chamber here. I was pretty disappointed by Bayley, Roxanne, and Alexa. Not a whole lot there for any of those three women. It probably feels like Bayley and Roxanne are still going to continue their little scuffle, and then still have no idea with Alexa and the Wyatt Six or how she unfolds.
Looks like the smart move would be Alexa and Nikki Cross taking on Raquel and Liv for the women's tag team championships. I think they could sell that match. Now, how they got to get there with Alexa and Nikki Cross, though, that has to happen sooner rather than later.
When's the last time we saw Nikki Cross?
I mean, look, they got to get there, but I know that feels to me like the thing that makes the most sense. Is there another women's tag team especially with Naomi, Jade, Bianca in shambles right now? Is there another women's tag team where you're like, okay,
I just think
they'll
that
get the rub.
We're building the Wyatt Six to be a support faction for the women's tag team division. You know what I mean? Like,
It's not great.
That doesn't seem like what we should be doing. I get that could happen, but we also need to see Alexa Bliss with the Wyatt Six first before anything. So
we got 6 weeks.
I don't know. That screams the women's tag titles are not going to be defended at WrestleMania this year.
I'm going to put on my Hustle Oath Your Respect shirt and go cry because I still like it's really well done. You tip the cap, but what an amazing spectacle. Who the heck knows what happens next? Boys, it's been a lot of fun. We're going to come back here and talk more as we get closer to Mania, I'm sure. Hopefully everyone enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching.